Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, we're talking about Windows emulation on Android with not Win Now, but Win Later, and Winlator just got a brand new update. So at the time of filming, Winlator 10.1 is the latest update, and this update has a whole bunch of brand new stuff and fixes and even more. So they've implemented here MIDI or MIDI or MIDI or subscribe to Mr. Sujano, depending on how you wanted to pronounce that. Anyways, they've implemented MIDI input-output, added support for external MIDI controllers, added new control types in input controls, added option move mouse when pressing button. On top of that, they've added in a virtual CD-ROM drive, basic support for ISO bin Q images, active Windows to side menu, picture-in-picture mode to side menu, and even more. There is a whole bunch of stuff in this update. And speaking about big updates, next up we're talking about Nintendo DS emulation with MelonDS, and MelonDS just got a big update, version 1.0. Now if you watch this channel, you're probably well familiar with MelonDS and also MelonDS version 1.0 RC, where RC stands for something. I can't quite put my finger on it, but it also stands for release candidate. So anyways here, this new version of MelonDS is pretty much the exact same as the release candidate with some minor tweaks and fixes. That's the whole purpose of the release candidate. There's a bunch of improvements here, including improvements to audio and video and performance and bug fixes and even more. There's DSi camera fixes and even more. And there's also a blog post on their website that I'd recommend checking out for more information, especially surrounding OpenGL stuff. And if you are interested in this and wanted to learn more about it, like everything we talk about, links are in the description below right at the bottom. I don't hide my sources. Next up, we're talking about Nintendo Switch 2 emulation with a modified fork of Ryujinx. And we talked about this one in yesterday's video, and this is more of a fast follow-up. We said to take that one with a grain of salt and be cautious about it, and it turns out we were right. This is 100% fake. There were a number of people out there who could spot it was fake right away. This person says it's fake. In the last 2 seconds of the video, you can see that his path points to C main Splatoon 2, which is what he used to fake this. So at this point in time, as I've said in previous videos, there's no such thing as a Switch 2 emulator yet. And it's probably going to take a while. Game dumps are probably going to be a problem. And on top of that, just trying to get a game running will take a lot of time. I could be wrong. Maybe this will age like milk. Hopefully it does, I guess, but at the same time here, just be patient on the matter. Switch 2 emulation may or may not come eventually. And speaking about fake Switch 2 emulators, next up we're talking about Axiom. Now we've talked about Axiom in a previous video or two, and basically it's a fake Switch 2 emulator they're trying to pass off as real. I think they opened a Patreon and all of that stuff. Anyways, here it seems that this is the end of Axiom, and I guess the ending is real, but the reason I'm betting is fake. So apparently here, they were contacted by Nintendo, had discussions with Nintendo, and I guess due to their own personal safety here, they're deciding to stop working on the emulator. Now, it's worth mentioning here, and I'm trying to keep myself composed. I don't know if they call out DMCA specifically, but they do talk about Nintendo's EULA and all of that stuff. And this is just a screenshot of an image, I think, from their Discord. Anyways, if you wanted to read through this nonsense, I'll leave a link to it in the description below and feel free to check it out. They say the last date for Axiom is July 9th, and then I guess they will be coming up with something else after that. I'm assuming possibly maybe another scam. I really don't know. But moving on and talking about new stuff. Next up here, we're talking about RetroAchievements, and this is a brand new announcement from RetroAchievements that I think is really exciting. We are now officially supported on Playback, which allows you to play your Game Boy Color and Advance games directly from the cartridge. This physical Game Boy operator is required and will give you all the achievements you're used to. Now, for those who may or may not be aware, Playback is the software that Game Boy Operator uses. Game Boy Operator is the hardware that lets you play and manage Game Boy cartridges on your computer. And I personally think Game Boy Operator is a pretty nifty piece of hardware. It's priced at $50 US. The RetroAchievements forums also have more information on the matter if you are curious about this and wanted to learn more about it. And again, links are in the description below. And speaking about new stuff, next up we're talking about CHD compression. and there seems to be a brand new CHD Compressor tool that's available on the web. They say here that this is a WebAssembly port of MAME's CHDman tool, and it does work with BinQ or ISO files. The tool appears to be 100% free. It's up on chdman.com. It seems very simple and straightforward to use, and I guess it was made by the team at Afterplay. And continuing to talk about new stuff, next up we're talking about Visual Boy Advance M, which is a Game Boy and Game Boy Advance emulator, and Visual Boy Advance M just got its first big update of 2025. So at the time of filming, version 2.2.0 is the latest update, and this update has a whole bunch of new stuff in it. There's fixes, there's improvements, there's brand new features. They've even added in dark mode support. There's a whole bunch of audio fixes and improvements. The auto updater has been fixed, and for the Game Boy, they've added support for per game overrides. There is quite a bit in this update. Next, if you're a fan of Homebrew games and you're a fan of the PlayStation Vita, you might be excited about this. So I might mispronounce this one. Is it ReiHEN or ReiHEN? Let me know in the comments below. But anyways, it's a PS Vita Homebrew contest from July 21st to October 7th. There are 3 categories for this one: original game, utility, and port. And I'm very curious to see what gets submitted. In my opinion here, one of the best parts about these Homebrew contests are for the gamer, not necessarily for the developer. I mean, if you're a developer, these things are a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong there. But if you're a gamer, I would say they're even more fun because you can test out a bunch of different stuff usually that's been submitted. And sometimes there's been some pretty cool stuff. And speaking about cool stuff in games, next up we're talking about a game that I'm interested in here and will be picking up at some point in time. Now this game isn't new per se. It was released mid-June. I guess it's still kind of new. I mean, it's not even a month old yet. But it's called Cast and Chill, and this is an indie game. Cast and Chill has a very positive review score over on Steam, and if you've played this game, please let me know your thoughts about it in the comments below. For the record here, the developers of this game, the publishers, did not reach out to me asking me to talk about this. I actually saw it on a YouTube trailer and thought it looked very interesting and a game I could sink a ton of hours into. And who knows, maybe someone watching will feel the exact same way. I'm a huge fan of indie games, and a game like this is right up my alley just to chill out with on my Steam Deck. Next up, we're talking about Doom and the SNES and limited run games. And if you're a fan of one of those or all 3, you might be a fan of this here. So this goes on sale on pre-order on Friday, July 11th, so just in a few days. And that's the Doom Collector's Edition for the SNES, or Doom the Standard Edition for the SNES. And the prices here for the Standard Edition of Doom is $100, and the Collector's Edition is a little bit more expensive than that, $175. So they say here that this is the definitive Doom SNES experience, all 4 Doom episodes, including Thy Flesh Consumed. They've added circle strafe, performance improvements, monster respawning on nightmare difficulty, level codes, and rumble support via an all-new controller. So it appears the SNES Rumble controller is not a part of the regular or collector's edition here. It's $35 on its own, and pre-orders also for this start on July 11th. And the Rumble controller looks interesting. So I guess they're calling this Rumble controller Hell's Nightmare. It features 2 Rumble motors and obviously will be compatible with Doom. And I'm very curious to see if other cartridges or games for the SNES, like Homebrew stuff in the future, will utilize this controller. According to VGC, Limited Run Games has said that it will be offering open source support to developers and modders, allowing third parties to update their games to include Rumble support in conjunction with its new Rumble Tech SNES controller. So let me know your thoughts about the Standard Edition and Collector's Editions of Doom, and also that new controller. Do you think that new controller is going to be good for the scene, and do you think it's exciting? I'm very curious to see how this controller functions overall and whether or not the controller is actually good. If it is good, it could be a game changer, quite literally. Next up, if you're a fan of ethical hacking and pen testing and that kind of stuff, you may be a fan of Parrot. Anyways, this is a Linux distribution based on Debian, and Parrot 6.4 has just dropped. So as for what's new here, as per usual, there's a whole bunch of updates to the operating system and applications. On top of that, it will be using Linux kernel 6.12.32. This is based on Debian 12, and it lays the groundwork for Parrot 7.0, which will be using Debian 13. They say here that work is already underway for Parrot 7.0, and interestingly here for the Raspberry Pi, this latest update is using Linux kernel version 6.12.34. And speaking about Linux stuff, this might be exciting if you're a gamer and, well, using Linux. So it's being reported that LSFG VK aims to bring lossless scaling's frame generation to Linux. Now, before you get too excited, there are some things worth noting. First and foremost, this is very early on in development, so expect a lot of bugs and issues. And Gaming on Linux is reporting that the installation process is a bit involved, and also that you need to be pretty Linux comfortable right now to actually make use of it, as it's quite a manual process. And on top of that, you also need to have purchased lossless scaling on Steam, as it makes use of a legacy version. So the project is 100% free and open source, but lossless scaling is not. It is up on Steam right now. It's got a very positive review score, and it's currently on sale for 40% off for about $5.40 Canadian. And speaking about interesting new stuff, last up here we're talking about GyroBuddy. And this is a brand new app that's just surfaced over on Android, and it's very interesting. They say here, unlock gyro control where no one has before. They go on to say in the description, GyroBuddy brings motion control to Android apps and emulators that don't natively support gyroscope input. Whether you're aiming in a shooter or steering through a racing game, GyroBuddy translates your device's movements into precise, simulated touch input, delivering up to console quality gyro control on your favorite Android. If you are interested in this one and wanted to learn more about it, there's a very detailed explanation about how it all works over on Reddit Emulation on Android. It's a short video that covers this pretty thoroughly. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Feel free to discuss anything we talked about in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.